let's get started. God, I sound like a commercial. Choose. You can either look better in the eyes of other people or be better in the eyes of yourself. Yo, spit in bars. Okay. It's just awkward because I'm alone. So like usually Vanya would laugh at that. Hey guys, welcome to the 4Words podcast where we talk about entrepreneurs building creative collaboration. If you don't know us already, Full Time Creatives is a South African marketing agency and we specialize in marketing, content creation and marketing advisory, essentially creative brainstorming. It's lovely to have you here today. If you have been watching our podcast, you'll notice that this episode is a little different because it's just me. And if you feel weird about it, I feel weirder about it because I'm so used to having someone to chat to. But that being said, in today's episode, I'm basically going to be sharing one thing that I have learned in my professional career that I think has boosted my professional career time and time again, and the one thing that has allowed me to grow on a yearly basis. This is the one thing that seems to come up in any interview that I've taken amongst my coworkers. In every field, it's kind of the one thing people bring up and they're like, you have this one thing and that's what we value. So I'm going to share with you guys and I'm going to explain sort of how it developed, how it grew and where I think it came from. So let's get started. So I won't wait until the end to tell you what that tip or trick or lesson is. I'll explain it from the get-go and then sort of unpack where I think it came from. I don't even know what to call it. It's not really a lesson. It's more of like a trait, like a professional trait that I've grown and now I'm consciously growing on a daily basis, and that is this idea of having a professional thick skin. I think just to like rephrase it in a few different ways, I think it's not your mistakes that break you, it's your mistakes that make you, and failure builds character. All of those sort of phrases, those sort of quotes that you see, that is kind of my thing. And when I say it's my thing, I mean it's the one thing I always lean back on regardless of what environment I'm in, regardless of who I'm working with. This is the one thing I kind of take with me. So the way that it comes about in my day-to-day life, it will be in the form of a thick skin, so people call it. And so many people have said this to me. So many people have said, yeah, but Kate, you have a thick skin. Or how do you have such a thick skin? How don't you take it personally? My whole team knows at Full Time that I am very brutally honest. But on the other hand, I can take brutal honesty on board very, very well. It's very rare that brutal honesty will get me down, mostly, actually only in a professional sense. In a personal sense, I'll cry sometimes. But if you're working with me, I'm like heartless.
Doesn't even hurt. At this point, I'm numb. There's no feelings.
It comes across on a day-to-day basis as a thick skin. So if someone needs me to change something or if they don't like the work that I've done, people very rarely tiptoe around me. They'll usually just say, Kate, I hate it. Kate, I really don't like this work. Kate, I mean, I've had some really funny things said to me before. The person who said this will know this and maybe she's watching this, but shout out to you. Basically, this one time I walked into a boardroom and I was like, okay guys, I know you guys aren't a fan of this, so I'm going to put it up and we can work through it and everyone can give me their feedback. As soon as I put it on the screen, she looks at me and she's like, Kate, this is literally the worst thing you've ever designed in your life. And I was like, taken. Let's move forward.
Well, you don't like it, you don't like it.
I sure damn don't like it.
Well, then what you want me to do?
I mean, I can go into story on story as to how this has sort of taken me further in my professional career, I believe. But I first want to unpack where I think it came from because I think it is very clearly twofold. And I obviously didn't realize this until sort of growing in the corporate space, growing in the entrepreneurship space. I've looked back and I've realized like, oh, that's where it came from. That was the realization, and this is the end result. So on the one hand, I genuinely think it is a result of realizing that admitting that you don't know something is always more valuable to you than pretending to know something. What I mean by this is if you're sitting at a dining room table full of people that all have different careers or different industries, different knowledge, fields, whatever, and someone turns to you and says, Kate, do you know XYZ? In that moment, everyone turns and looks at you and you're like, I should definitely know this. I should probably know this. It seems like everybody knows this. So I feel pressured. I feel stupid. So I say, of course I do, man. Of course I do, Stephen. What do you mean? Everybody knows it's like the back of their hand. So do I. That right there is the stupidest thing you can do. It is the stupidest thing you can do because first of all, no one likes a know-it-all. If you think you're the smartest person at the table, you're sitting at the wrong table. But second of all, in that moment, right there and then, I decided that instead of extracting value from the people around me, I'm going to pretend as if I have value to offer. I'm going to pretend as if they don't have value to offer. Guys, who's that going to benefit? Who knows where that conversation could have gone? Maybe you would have connected with someone better. Maybe the conversation would have taken a turn and you could have benefited from it greatly. So that was the first realization. And I remember sharing a reel about this when we first started the KDW Media Instagram. And it was like, what's one lesson I learned that I wish I learned sooner? And it's this. It's that admitting when you're wrong is the best thing you can do for yourself. It's actually the most selfish thing you can do for yourself in that situation. You can either look better in the eyes of other people or be better in the eyes of yourself. Yo, spit in bars. Spit in bars. Okay. It's just awkward because I'm alone. So like usually Vanya would laugh at that. Okay, and then the second place that I think it grew from was the amount of anxiety you carry when you don't admit you've done something wrong is so much worse than that conversation you have to have admitting that you've done something wrong. So if you mess up something, say you were supposed to send X and you sent Y to a client and it was like a big flippin' deal and you know someone's going to find out or someone might find out, but you're like, let me just keep this to myself because my job's on the line or someone's going to be angry at me or someone's going to be pissed off. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's worse. I promise you it's so much worse. Then the next time that person calls you into their office and they're like, can we have a chat? You're like, oh my God, they found out. Oh my goodness, I'm going to get fired because I didn't say anything. It's just too stressful.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
If you make a mistake, if you up, own it. Take it, learn from it, improve.
Learn something from this.
It's so much more productive that way than trying to cover up your mistakes, blame someone else, extend the lifespan of your lie. It's just too flippin' stressful. Admitting when you're wrong is the best thing that you can do for your professional growth and obviously your personal growth as well. There's nothing worse than speaking to someone and you know that they've made a mistake and you know that if they just admitted it, they can fix it. But then they go on and on and on about all these excuses. My dog ate my homework. Susie from HR said XYZ and that's why I put that in the email. Ugh, guys, it doesn't have to be that much of a process. It's not that deep. Just be like, sorry, I did up. That one's on me. Let's move forward. Or here are my solutions. The best thing you can do if you mess up is go to the person who it's going to affect the most or maybe the person you're reporting to with solutions. Don't just go and be like, oh my gosh, I've messed everything up. You can fire me now. Ugh. No. Oh my gosh, I messed up. Let me pay for the... No. I messed up. This is what I'm thinking we do instead. I'm so sorry. It won't happen again. I'll try my hardest. Here are the solutions I've put together. Let me know which one you think is going to work better. I'm happy to sit and brainstorm more solutions if you think none of these are going to work. That's it. Those are like the two avenues in which I've like been molding my character for the past maybe 2 years. And it was like this natural trait of, I think, confidence, but also people skills. Like I do have good people skills. I'm also a good public speaker. So I'm confident when I speak. But that kind of formed into this, me being able to take on criticism. And now I actively grow that part of myself because it's been something that I find that people value. The clients that work with me, they feel comfortable with me because they can say it like they mean it. There's no tiptoeing around it. There's no, saying X, but you mean Y. If you can just prove to the people around you that they can be honest with you, they can be open with you, they will always feel like they'll get a better delivery out of you than your counterpart or than your competitor because they can be honest with you. And not many people can handle honesty. Everyone can handle like a sugar-coated adjustment or a sugar-coated criticism. Even the idea of constructive criticism. What about the unconstructive criticism? What are you going to do with that? Huh? You're going to take it on board. You're going to put your big girl panties on and then you're going to go home and cry later to your bestie. That's what you're going to do. Not all criticism is going to be constructive. It's really, really not. You have to just evaluate like, is this an attack on my personal character? If yes, you can let it go. Or is it an attack on my work? If it's an attack on your work, that's fantastic. Now you have so many spaces to improve, especially in the creative field. I feel like it's such a great way to expand your creativity because there's very few times you get to like explore new avenues or to fix something that you've done, especially when you get into a groove. Everyone has their look, has their feel. When you've developed like your vibe as a creative, there's very few people who challenge it because the people who work with you want the type of work that you offer. So there's very few times that you get the opportunity to say, okay, I have to do something completely different, or okay, let me adjust this. This is completely off mark for me. Do it. Just adjust it, see what else you can do, see what else you can come up with. It's such a great way to further your design skills, further your creative skills, and challenge yourself. There's obviously a whole nother part of it where it's like sometimes people just go OB and they will completely tear your work to shreds without anything constructive for you to work on. That's not really what I'm talking about. There's always an exception to the rule. I'm talking about the times where people come to you and they really don't like what you've done and they feel like they have to tiptoe around you, or they feel like they have to, walk eggshells. You don't want that. You don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the person who everyone thinks they're going to make cry, because people are going to feel like they can't get what they need out of you. And that's a really dangerous space to be. It's a really dangerous space to operate in. So you need to figure out how you can detach yourself from your work and work on it like a project. And you want as many eyes on this project as possible. You want as many people's opinions. You don't have to take everyone's opinions on board. You need to be okay with hearing it though. And you can't get defensive. Those are like the two places, like I said, that I think that they came from. And then just like a few ways in which this has benefited me, or a few ways in which I feel like it's really, really helped me in my professional career, is it has reduced my delivery time significantly, because there's no back forth, people walking eggshells around me. I can operate very quickly because I get what I need from people very, very quickly, because they know they can be direct. And I am direct, but I accept directness as well. So people know that they can come to me and say, I hate this, I hate that you chose that color. Can we rather use something this? Or just be like, the other person did it so much better. Like, people speak to me like that, I promise. And it makes me a lot faster because, there's no waffling. So that's the first way that it's definitely benefited me. The second way is actually connecting with people. And there's a great humor to this way of operating, because not many people can do it and not many people expect you to respond like that. So it's actually become a very humorous thing with a lot of my coworkers, is the way that they can be very direct with me. I just laugh off like some of their most brutal feedback. It's a way to actually connect with your coworkers differently to everyone else. Many people in the working space will connect over office gossip, for one. Number two, personal drama. Like they'll grab a cup of coffee and they'll speak about their personal lives, or they'll speak about all the drama going on in the office, or maybe they are speaking about the fact that coworker was rude to them, whatever it might be. That is how a lot of people connect in the workspace. If you can start connecting over something constructive like criticism, it does make you a great personality hire. If I don't say so myself. That's the second way that I think it's benefited me, is that this like South African humor, we are very straightforward, we are very sarcastic as well. So this kind of feeds into that. You can take it under your belt, you can make it like a humorous thing. If someone says to you like, Kate, I hate your work, you can be like, yo, okay, I'm taking that one, And then the last way, or like not the last way, but the last one I'm going to share because I wanted to keep this short. It has definitely enabled me to critique myself better. When you get honesty from other people, you are your biggest critique, right? So you can only be as good as your own critique, because the critique that you give yourself, bear with me, the critique that you give yourself is probably the critique that you're going to act on, because it's not as embarrassing, or it doesn't bruise your ego because you came up with it yourself. So enabling other people to be honest with me, and enabling other people to be my biggest critiques or criticize me as much as they want to or whatever, has developed my internal self-criticism. And in turn, I've become extremely, extremely self-aware. I'm going to end it there. Bye. Okay, no, maybe I shouldn't. It's enabled me to reflect on my work, my actions, my personality, the way I engage, a lot more critically and a lot less to like save my own feelings. And that obviously in turn has enabled me to tap into parts of myself that I never even knew existed. I would always be the person who'd be like, oh no, that's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to start a podcast. It's embarrassing to wear these big headphones. It's embarrassing to hold such a big mic and talk. I would be the first person to say that. And these days I'm just like, you know what? You've already thought about all the criticism people could potentially bring to you, and you're doing it anyways because you know X, Y, Z. And it just makes you like a lot less vulnerable to shitty people. Yeah. So anyway, just to wrap up, the biggest thing I've learned in my professional career is to develop a thick skin. And I mean, that looks different for everyone, obviously, but my thick skin kind of refers to this idea of being able to accept harsh criticism, or being able to admit when you're wrong and own up to your fuck-ups. And the two things or two realizations that I went through in my life to sort of start actively growing this thick skin, first and foremost, was the realization that admitting when you don't know something is so much more valuable to yourself than pretending to know something. And the second realization was that avoiding your mistakes or avoiding your fuck-ups and avoiding criticism is probably the most detrimental thing to your own growth. So yeah, those are the two things. That's what I've learned. Take it, leave it, love it, use it. I don't know. But that's me. Bye.